So first of all, welcome to the Shresh Finance Podcast, Vani.
Thank you very much, Ankit, for having me. And I'm really excited to be on this. And it was really nice meeting you yesterday
Yeah, the Creators Mela, right?
at the Creative Mela. Yeah.
And it was very wonderful session from your side. It was for financial literacy for digital content creators, right?
Right.
Okay, so is this your first time to Nepal or?
No, this is not my first time to Nepal. I've been to Nepal before on holiday quite some time ago in 2010. But I see so many changes now. And in fact, even in this year, this is my second time to Nepal because in February, I was in Lumbini.
Lumbini, okay.
Yes. And we were on a Buddha trail and I was in Lumbini. And this time now I'm in Kathmandu.
Okay, so you came in 2010, right? So coming down like 13 years now, what are the clear changes you see?
Oh, I see Kathmandu as a city, I think has really boomed and blossomed. I think there's a lot more development.
Okay.
I definitely see more four-lane highways and a lot more bigger and fancier cars on the road. I think so that's a good sign of economic growth. And I see, people are more out and about, and definitely things seem to have changed for the better.
Okay, so talking on I checked in your LinkedIn account and I came to know that you are a CPA, right? Certified Public Accountant.
Yes.
So you are a professional accountant as well. And I think this podcast would be suit for you as well, where we're gonna talk about finance. From my experience and talking with my friends and the seniors, it's like I kind sort of I have an example, right? So see, people if there are any issue with the mental health, people don't talk about it, right? And I find the same problem with the finance as well. People have problem with finance, but they don't talk.
Yes.
In friends and family, or I don't know the reason behind that. Could you add on something to this?
I think you're absolutely right. I think people, they realize money is something that's important. Finance is something very important, but people, I think, like to keep it very private.
Yes.
Because I think if they say they have it, I think it's very much associated with Asian culture where it's about saving face. I think if you say you have too much money, people think you're trying to show off, or people may try to borrow from you and all that, and they're maybe worried about that. But if you also say that you don't have a lot of money or you're having financial problems, then it becomes something that you must have done something wrong. Then people sort of feel that they may be a failure. So it's always this challenge that people find that they're so afraid to talk about it, and they're so afraid to take charge of it and want to do something about it. And a lot of that has to come, comes from the fact that they're very intimidated about the whole finance, money situation, because it's related to, it could be related to taxes. Oh my God, then I have to pay more, and then I think so that puts a lot of barriers for people to speak about it.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, you're absolutely right. It's like that, like I said yesterday, it's like that handsome boy or that pretty girl you want to talk to, but you never get a chance to. You're always shy because you don't know where to begin.
Yeah, exactly. So things are like that, and we thought the reason behind that is lack of financial literacy, right? And in this world, we talk about literacy for being being adaptive to the technology, but what about the finance thing, right? So since we can talk about the yesterday session, you gave us 4 cornerstones for a good financial management on individual and even in business level, right? Would you please elaborate in this in such a way that a layman can understand it better, because money is such thing that everyone wants it.
Yes.
So
I think that's a very valid question, Ankit. I think the 4 cornerstones that I shared yesterday at the Mela are things that what I consider my personal guide, and that's what I tell people along the way. And this is from my experience as an auditor, as an accountant, as a project person, as an entrepreneur myself. I think so the 4 cornerstones which I hold true, and I always tell all small businesses to focus on. Number 1 is cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. You don't have to learn how to keep your you don't have to learn how to do your profit and loss account or your balance sheet. Leave that to your accountants to deal with. But you do need to know how much money and how much cash you have. And when I say cash, it's not just physical cash, it's also cash in your bank, cash, and in today's terms with all this digital payments and all that, it's also cash in your e-wallets, cash everywhere. And cash, I would consider, is anything that you can use to pay within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's very important. And when you say, when I, and you know, cash flow is always a cycle.
Yeah.
You know, you have your customers giving you money, or you've invested money in your business that gets translated into goods that you're producing, that you are selling, and then you use that money that you get to pay your suppliers. You need to keep that wheel turning. And how do you keep that wheel turning is managing your relationships. And if you don't keep track of that cash flow, you are soon going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and people, like, we have been always hearing that cash is always king.
Yeah, cash is always king, yes.
Exactly.
And it is very much the oil that fuels your business. And whichever, whether it's a small business or even your personal finance, right? You can't do anything without cash. Cash with you.
Exactly. There is a difference between cash and profit, right? Through your experience being as an auditor, being as an accountant, and working as an entrepreneur and as a project manager as well, can you maybe simplify what's the cash flow and what's the profit?
Okay, so profit is the surplus of what you earn against, once you've deducted or whatever cost of you creating that earning, that's your profit. But cash flow is whatever income you have minus whatever expenditure money you've paid out, that's your cash. But the difference between the two, they may not necessarily be equal.
Exactly.
Because your sometimes when you sell something, your customer owes you money. And then when you're buying something from your supplier gives you credit. He may not say you need to pay it right away. And sometimes when you have a profit, you have recorded a profit, that doesn't necessarily equate the cash that you have.
Exactly. I think that's the main difference, right?
That is the main difference. But if you have a customer who hasn't paid you, you can, even though you have recorded a profit, you are not able to move because you cannot pay your supplier. You cannot do anything. Your supplier is not going to give you more things if you haven't paid. You haven't paid your staff. The staff is not going to do anything.
Exactly.
They're going to say, no, I can't do this anymore. But with cash, you can keep that machinery moving. Exactly. Okay? And sometimes, and usually if you have a fair bit of surplus cash, that usually does equal to, yes, you do have profit. But not necessarily, not all the time. But usually it's a good gauge. Cash enables you to move very, very quickly. And so going back to that 4 cornerstones, so that's cash flow is the first thing. The second thing is detach emotions. Sometimes we make a lot of financial decisions based on emotions. We think, oh, this is very pretty. I really like to buy this. Oh, I need a new laptop. Let me buy the most expensive laptop. Those are emotional decisions. And I think people need to detach those emotions from it and see whether those that amount that you're going to spend is going to give you the equal amount or a greater amount of revenue. And is your customer, if that is going to be used to increase your level of service to your client, how sure are you that your customer is willing to pay for it? Right? So you don't know that. So you need to take away your emotions, use logic, talk to your customers and say, hey, look, if I offer you this extra service, if I buy this nicer equipment and do this extra service for you, will you pay me more money? And if they say yes, then it might be, and if 5 customers say yes, they will, then it's a reasonable assessment that, okay, maybe you should buy this equipment. But maybe you don't need such a fancy equipment. You need to tie it. And then you can slowly grow it accordingly, right? So, and then sometimes we are very tempted, like if we have a lot of money, we have a lot of cash, we don't think about saving for a rainy day. We think we increase our lifestyle. We're going to buy a fancy car, we're going to buy a fancy phone. And then when the next customer doesn't pay you, you are stuck again. So always plan it ahead and detach your emotions.
Okay.
And I think the third thing that I would emphasize on is maintain your reputation and maintain relationships. Always work with your customers and your suppliers as a team and so that they understand your situation. And this sometimes works to your advantage, because then you can maybe collaborate with them for bigger things. But whereas if you keep it very transactional, that means you just keep it like, I just do business and then I forget all about you, right? Then it becomes that when you need help, like for instance, if you're in a cash crunch and you're not able to pay your supplier, at least you talk to your supplier and say, look, can I give you 100 rupee a month? If you owe him 1,000, can I give you 100 rupee a week, for instance? That's all I can afford. If you have a relationship with your supplier, they will trust you, and they may accommodate you. They may scold you, but they may accommodate you.
Exactly.
And this is where reputation is very important. The business world is very, 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 very small. So don't try to make a quick buck and shortchange someone. That means don't give people poor quality things. Don't try to take shortcuts. It's very short term, because sooner or later it will catch up. And if you don't have a reputation as someone who is honest, someone who delivers good quality, customers won't refer you. They will look for who is the cheapest person, who is the next cheapest person. But at least if you have a relationship, even if you charge them a little extra, they know that the trust that they can put in you to give good things, a good service or good product, is worth that little extra that you pay than for them to get someone cheaper whom they don't know. It's always easier for customers, and even when you look for suppliers, it's always easier for you to deal with existing suppliers and existing customers than building relationship with new customers or new suppliers. So when you have a good reputation, you have a good relationship, that is really, really very good. And I think the fourth thing, especially very important for small businesses, is record keeping. And I think, if you work in an audit firm and all that, you will realize for small businesses, this is something that a lot of them struggle with. A lot of them don't keep records. And say one fine day when the taxman is asking you, or even if you want to go to the bank to get a small loan, the bank will say, hey, show me your financial management, show me your something. And if you don't learn to keep your records, when I say records, that means at least keep a little record of how much sales you're making every day, or how much money you're banking in. If you have your cash flow record, and talk to an accountant or talk to someone who is accounting and say, how do I do this? And nowadays with Excel and Google Sheet software, it is so easy. You don't need to know how to do the complex books, complex accounts to produce the financial reports and statements. But keep your records properly. Keep all your bills. Keep all your invoices, so that when the time comes for someone to prepare it, they have the information, they can do it quickly. Problem is, a lot of small businesses only like to look at this when they have a problem. Either the taxman is after them or they need money from the bank. And at that time, this is time. Time is money. It takes you time to prepare all these things. And then you cannot just imagine and prepare something from a bank statement. It doesn't necessarily work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you been since you have been working as a consultant as well in your own firm, right? And as an auditor as well, going to the books of your accounts of your business, have you find it is it because they don't want to, or they don't know how to?
I think in a lot of cases, one is a lot of cases they don't know how to.
Okay.
They don't know where to start. And then by the time they realize they have to start, the problem becomes very big. And then they have to get accountants in who spends weeks trying to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Whereas if it is something they took a little bit of effort and worked on it from the beginning, and at least had the records. That's why I'm saying record keeping, not bookkeeping.
Okay.
Bookkeeping is you record everything, you do your ledgers, you record debit, credit, everything. A layman is not going to know that, but you keep your records and say, okay, this is how much sales I have every day. And you can even write it in a book. You don't need no software, it's okay. Write it in a book and keep. I think in the olden days, a small business used to have a little, get a notebook. This is how much I spent.
Yeah.
This is what I did. This is what I bought. Or like a journal you keep every day.
Exactly.
Good enough. That's what I mean by record keeping. And keep all the bills, everything in one box. I used to have, when I had my own firm, I used to have a dentist as a client. And every end of every year, he will give it to me in a shoebox.
Shoebox?
In a shoebox. And he will say, these are all my bills. Can you please go sort it out? And these are all my bank statements. Please go sort it out. Okay, but at least it's something for us to work on. But if you don't have anything, especially if you're a very cash-driven business, you know, the small seller who sells by the roadside, pani puri by the roadside, he just is selling money, you know, he's just giving cash, keep taking cash for the day, you know, buying his things, and he's carrying on. Now, where is he going to? He's not going to have anything to keep in a shoebox.
Exactly.
But at least if he had a plastic bag and put the bills in the plastic bag, at least something can be constructed with it.
Exactly. Moving to your first point, you yesterday clearly said like pay yourself first, right?
Yes.
I think you want to have to say something about this. Pay, what does it means like pay yourself first?
Okay, so we have to think about why do we go into business, right? Okay, so when someone wants to make money, right? Even if they are what I consider as a necessity entrepreneur, that means they are doing it out of necessity. They have no choice. They can either go and look for work somewhere, or they can start a business. Yeah. And when you start a business, no matter how small it is, it's a lot of hard work. It's 24/7 work, right? Now, if you go and worked for someone, you're assured that every month or every 2 weeks, there will be money that will come to you.
Exactly.
Right? It's limited amount of money, but it's fixed amount of money. There is certainty there. But if you start a business, there is so much of uncertainty. But you still have bills to pay. You have your personal bills to pay, right? You have your business bills to pay. Then you have your personal bills to pay. If you are married, you have children, you know, you have your children's school fees to pay, you have food to put on the table, you have to do all these things. So why is it that you don't, a lot of people focus on I'm running a business. And then you pay the staff, you pay everything. But then you find that you haven't priced yourself right to pay yourself.
Yeah.
And what is left for you? And you're working so hard. And then when you calculate at the end of the day, yes, it's very exciting and it's very sexy to say, I'm in a business, I'm running my own business. But if it is not making money, right? If it is not enough to pay at least equivalent to what you could get in a job, then begins, okay, maybe the first 3 months, 6 months, you can sort of say, okay, I'm starting the business. It's going to turn around. It's this thing. It's a risk, right? But eventually, at some point, you need to make a commitment and say, I am going to price it right, that I am going to get paid for this, and I'm going to keep something for myself, right? And unless you have very deep pockets, like unless you have a big bank account to rely on to pay your bills, how are you then going to survive? So, which is why I say, factor in on paying yourself first.
I think in current situation in Nepal, like there are a lot of youth entrepreneurs, right? They are starting their own business. They don't want to work in a corporate culture. Rather than that, they want to start off their own. And what we have learned and what we have feel is like paying first. That's not being in Nepal.
Yeah.
So we feel like, okay, whatever the leftover, I will take it. But what happens is like business is there, but me as a person, I have my own bills, I have my own expenses, and if I haven't got the money, then I think get motivated to work more for the business, and in the long run it is hampering the business, right?
It does hamper the business in the long run. And also you have certain responsibilities that you need to fulfill, right? You may have student loans to pay, you may have debts to pay, you know, you also want to progress in life. Exactly. And you know, at the end of the day, if the business is, at the end of the day, you need to see whether, you know, we're not talking about making so much money and pricing yourself out of the market. Mm-hmm. So you need to price yourself to what the customer is willing to pay, and there's enough customers that are willing to pay that, right? And at the end of to pay that amount to give you what is sustainable against your cost. So which is why I always recommend that if small youth are starting businesses, then Don't think that, oh, I need to invest 100,000 rupee and I need to have, first thing I must do is get a big office space and buy 10 computers, hire 5 staff, get a new car without a single customer locked in, right? So if you look at use effectuation principles, then you look and say, okay, I am going to start this business and I'm going to start it as a project and maybe give myself 3 months or 6 months and say, okay, for my personal expenses, I have this much of money that I have put aside, that I don't have to touch on. And this is only going to be to cover my personal expenses. And the rest, this is the amount I'm going to put in the business. And this is what I can afford to lose. It's called affordable loss. I can afford to lose this. If this doesn't work out, it's okay. Detach emotions, right? It doesn't work out, I'm going to walk away. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. The business failed. The venture project failed. I tried this idea, it didn't work out. And it doesn't mean that once you fix on something, a lot of people spend a lot of time writing big business plans, but you need to adapt your business, pivot your business, adjust your business according to what the market is telling you out there.
Demanding.
And when you are doing something, then you have to adjust it and adjust it and adjust it until you hit the right formula. You must be willing to do that. And as you do that, you find, okay, this is growing. Okay, maybe this wasn't the initial problem statement that I thought of. This wasn't the initial problem. Why do people start a business? You start a business because you think there is a need in the market. There is a gap in the market that you think whatever service or product you're offering is fulfilling. But halfway through, you may realize that is not what the market wants, right? Your understanding was not quite there. Doesn't mean you're wrong, but you're adapting and evolving and you are adjusting your actions to fulfill that. And as you move and as you adjust, then you tweak your business. So you give yourself 6 months and then say, okay, this is all right. I think this is okay. This will work. You've had your 6 months. Your personal responsibility is taken care of. And now it has to reach a stage where then you make another decision. Okay, how do I give it another 3 months? So you need to detach the emotions. You need to fix it and say, be firm with yourself to an extent about it. The problem with some people is that you're afraid to give it up because you see it as a sense of failure. If it is not, you're not willing to sit down, look at the numbers, look at the finances, and look at how the business is going to see that, okay, this is not working out. Maybe I need to go get a job for another 6 months or 1 year to get more experience, open my exposure. And as a young person, you can afford to do that. Right? You can go, and I think the world is changing now where corporates are a bit more understanding and they're more willing to, they respect you in that sense to say that, hey, you have actually been brave enough to go and try something on your own for a while, right? And just because the business failed doesn't mean that you failed, but it shows that you have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? And that ultimately, if you're a growing company that is looking for staff, you would be looking for people like that. People who have an entrepreneurial mindset, who are willing to take a risk and who are willing to call it quits when it is not working out, right? The worst kind is you just stick to it, even if it is not working out, borrowing from everybody, hoping that one fine day something magical is going to happen. Right? And it is not, nothing's going to wait for you. Things are going to carry on. Because you're stubbornly sticking to, this is my original idea, this was my original product. Someday I'm going to convince the customer that they're going to buy it. But the market is telling you otherwise. It's either you got your marketing wrong or that's not what the customer wants. Then you have to go out and talk to your customers. And you have to give yourself a fixed amount of time that I'm going to do this. It's not working out. I'm going to either change it, or I'm going to say, okay, I'll try again. Come back and try again. Important thing is you learn the principles of being able to repeat that process again and again and again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the ability to, again, try it again, the thing you have learned from the mistakes would definitely help you in doing a next business, or you work in a corporate as well, right?
Yeah.
So moving on to the detach the emotion, right? I think there is a very thin line that makes you decide whether to buy that laptop or not, right? So there is a very thin line, I think, right?
Yes.
So can you give us like how can we, make a good financial decision, not an emotional decision? I think like if it is not illogical, if it's all because of the emotion, like if I buy this laptop, then I will look good, maybe like I will look cool as well. So this is a emotional decision you are
Very
talking
emotional
about, right?
decision, yes.
So if it had been a financial decision, what should be my thinking process?
Okay, so for example, let's go to a mobile phone,
Okay, sure.
right? Okay, that's a common thing that everybody wants to buy,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you look at your finances and say you can afford a mobile phone for 2,500 rupees, and what are you going to use the mobile phone for? Okay, I'm going to do my TikTok, I'm going to do my Facebook, I'm going to do my social media marketing, I'm going to do my digital marketing on using my phone. This is what I need my phone for. Then there is the temptation is there, you have 3,000 rupees, you go to the mobile phone shop and the shopkeeper says, hey, why don't you buy this particular phone? It's 4,000 rupees. It's the latest model. Okay, so then you're looking at an extra 1,000 rupees. Okay. Then you look at it, and an emotional decision would be the temptation and say, okay, never mind. I'll just find the 1,000 rupees somewhere and buy the phone for 4,000 rupees. That's an emotional decision. But if you look at it and say, okay, I really only need this phone. This is the stage my business is in. I'm not doing fancy videos. Yes, it has like, I don't know, some 1,000 megapixel camera or something, the 4,000 rupee. This has only maybe 500 megapixel. I mean, I could be getting the whole technical jargon wrong, but anyway, you get what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It's differential,
Yeah.
right? But if the videos and whatever that I'm posting is enough from a 500 megapixel phone, I would say just okay. Get the 3,000, spend the 3,000 rupees, stick to your guns, and buy that 3,000 rupee phone. It's good enough. It does this job. And then 1 year down the road, if your business has grown and you are able to do better, then you go and look, maybe that by then for 4,000 rupees, you can get a 2,000 megapixel phone, right? And then you can give your phone, this 3,000 rupee phone to your staff to use,
Nice.
right? But if your temptation is you go and buy the 4,000 rupee phone from the very beginning, then how are you going to cover the hole that the 1,000 rupee has cost? Something else you're going to compromise.
Opportunity cost, right?
Yeah, what are you going to compromise on? Okay, are you going to compromise on, if say you have a content creator for you, who is editing the videos, are you going to tell him, hey, look, can you just take 500 rupee less? Because I spent this money buying this fancy phone, right? Now, why should he?
Exactly.
Right?
Because it was your decision to buy the
It was your
4,000.
emotional decision.
Emotional decision.
Yeah. Or you go and tell your staff, hey, look, I'm not going to pay you your overtime. Can you just keep working? Things are a little tight at the moment. But here you are, you've gone and spent an extra 1,000 rupees, which you didn't have to. Right? But say, supposing you had kept the 1,000 rupees aside, even if you had the money, you kept the 1,000 rupees aside. Right? Now imagine that if you made 5 such decisions like that, which saves you a 5,000 rupees, you have 5,000 rupees extra to do something extra with to really grow your business, right? Maybe have a meeting with all your clients, all your good customers, maybe, and do a little entertainment with them, or send your customers a gift or something, and they will be thankful, and then they will remember you, right? So it's about what you prioritize, and you look at it and say, is this justifiable? People need to learn to do more with less.
More with less.
More with less. I think in current times, we are this whole thing about keeping up with your peers, buying the latest technology, doing this, doing that. It doesn't emphasize that doing more with less. It's about doing less with more. Right? We are tempted to keep buying, must change your phone every year. We need the latest, sexiest thing. If you are someone who is, again, if you're, say, offering yourself as a photographer and a videographer, right? You
Things
want
would
your
be different.
clients, credibility with your clients.
Exactly.
You need to invest a certain amount of thing. You can't go with some old 10-year-old DSLR camera and say, I will do this fancy video for you with this and with that. You can't. Right? In today's terms, you need drones and things. But things where you can compromise, you should. Don't be afraid to do that. But if it serves your purpose, but doesn't mean you go and buy some stupid thing that breaks down in 3 months.
Yeah.
Right? So and today there are so many reviews available online for every single thing that you want to buy. Do those reviews, do those research. Just don't walk into a shop and say this is the thing and be tempted to buy 50 different things that the guy is offering you. Because he's trying to increase his sales as well.
Exactly. I think regarding the pricing, right? So you said like, okay, for 25,000 you get this free razor, and if you just add on like 3,000 you would get this free razor, right? The 3,000 might be not a big amount of money for one buyer, but when you look from the perspective of the seller, 3,000 multiple, it would be a huge money, right? So since from your experience, do they market well in terms of the pricing they do in when they launch their product in the market? Like how to fix the prices so that the psychology thing they study on that.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Have you have any experience, or you want to say any story
no,
regarding?
I wouldn't say that, but it's quite. I mean, we can see whenever the companies come up with their new phones and come up with their new laptops, it's always priced just a little bit more to tempt you to spend a little bit more. And that's where you have to be resolute and say, no, do I need this? I think that's an honest question you have to ask. That's the type of work that I do. And even if you're buying laptops for your staff,
Exactly.
there is that temptation and say, oh, there is an i7 processor. I'm going to buy new laptops for my staff. I'm going to buy i7 processors for everybody. Laptops with i7 processors for everybody. But you may not need to. Look at the kind of work the person is doing. What will be optimal for their work? You don't want a laggy i3 processor. I don't think they even sell that anymore. But if an i5 processor serves them well, and if you're buying 10 laptops, 2,000 rupee per laptop, that's 20,000 rupees that you can do so much more with, right? And when the business grows, things are better, you can go and buy, right? But if you are the person who is marketing the business, and if you're going to show off that you're a high-tech software developer, then you would need to spend that kind of thing.
I think
this is the Shresh Finance Podcast, and this is brought to you by ACCA. ACCA चाहिँ एउटा ग्लोबल प्रोफेसनल बडी हो जस अन्तर्गत धेरै कोर्सहरू पढाइन्छ। त्यसमध्ये ACCA एउटा प्रोफेसनल अकाउन्टेन्सी कोर्स हो। सो इफ यु आर लुकिङ अ करियर इन फाइनेन्स, बिजनेस एन्ड अकाउन्टिङ, यु क्यान थिङ्क अबाउट ACCA। यो UK बेस्ड चार्टर्ड एकाउन्टेन्सी कोर्स हो र यो पढ्नको लागि UK नै जानुपर्ने भन्ने चाहिँ छैन। हाम्रो अर्को स्पोन्सर हुनुहुन्छ सीड फाइनेन्शियल एकाडेमी, एन्ड इट्स अ प्लाटिनियम approved learning partner for ACCA program in Nepal. We would like to thank ACCA and Seed Financial Academy for sponsoring our project, the Shresh Finance Podcast. Now, let's get right into the podcast.
Spend that kind of thing.
I think as being a business, having a business, you have to know like what's the capital expenditure and what's the revenue expenditure, right?
Correct.
So for example, me as a person who specialize on like maybe like consulting to the clients regarding how to maintain their books, how to do with the tax return and everything, somebody like me may not need a fancy laptop or the like high processor in laptop, right? But for one who is doing like the photography thing,
yeah,
all the editing thing, they have to have that,
yes,
to keep up with the business, right?
To keep up with the business,
exactly.
Yes.
For them, that not might be a decision to buy. They shouldn't think it's as a fancy, but it's a productive one. But for me, it might sound a product,
correct,
a fancy.
Exactly. So
exactly.
buy according to your needs.
Exactly.
You see, like for instance, even if a photographer and a videographer, right? Now you may be able to get away with say a 50,000 rupee camera, right? Depends on the kind of clientele you're targeting, right? If you're really targeting the high end in 5-star hotels and what have you, like you do one shoot in a year, you're covered. You don't have to do anything else for the rest of the year, right? That kind of pricing. then you should invest in really, really high-tech equipment.
Exactly.
But if you're looking at the middle class and that kind of, I mean, I don't mean it in a derogatory manner, but I'm just saying if you're looking at people's affordability, look at what your customers and tailor it according to that. That will still give good products, and invest the money instead in doing good portfolios for yourself that your customer can look at through social media to actually say, yeah, I like what. Because look, as a lay person, and as a bridal couple, right, and you want to engage someone to do your photography and videography, when you go and talk to the person, you're not going to look and see, oh, what kind of camera do you have? What kind of video camera do you have? Let me see your equipment. What's your model of your drone? They don't know, right? What do they look at?
Is the end result maybe?
They look at what's the outcome.
Exactly.
What have you produced? What's on your portfolio? Word of mouth. Tell me 2 clients who you've worked with. Do you understand what I'm trying to do? Because every bridal couple wants their wedding and whatever to be special, right? And say, speak to me. Tell me, are you listening to what? Are you just going to come and do a formula shoot, which means you do A, you do B, you do C without even talking to me? Or are you going to invest time in talking to me and understanding the special day and doing that, right? And let me see what the video you've done.
Exactly.
That's what they look at the end of the day, right? A corporate shoot may be slightly different, or if you are subbing for someone, that means someone is doing a big corporate shoot and they want additional photographers, they may come and look at what equipment you have. But if you have a decent quality equipment, not exactly the top range, decent quality equipment, and you show them a good portfolio, I mean, even if you buy the most expensive camera, chances are, or your most expensive laptop, most expensive phone, how many % of the features do you actually use on a daily basis?
Yeah. Getting less from more.
Sorry?
Getting less from more.
You actually probably only 80% of the time you're only using the basic features.
Yeah.
Right? So are you going to tie up so much money to buy something that you only use on a rare day when it is needed? If you really need it, you can maybe hire it for the day, maybe more cost effective.
Exactly.
And those are decisions that people need to do without being emotional about it.
Yeah. There is a term called like good customer and a bad customer, or maybe like good client and a bad client, right? And there is a parity theory, like 20%.
80% of your revenues come from 20%
of business.
Customers. Yes.
Exactly. So, what's actually who are the good customers and who are the bad customers?
Okay, I don't think anyone should be labeled as good or bad. But yes, it's generally true. If you actually sit and look and analyze your customers, you'll actually find 80% of your revenues do usually come from 20% of your customers. And that is because of the relationship and the reputation factor that I spoke about.
The third one.
Yes, the third one. And that you have actually built that along the way.
Exactly.
A customer who doesn't pay you on time, a customer who just runs away, can really turn your business topsy-turvy. Because they have not only run away with the money they owe you, they've also run away with the money that you have to pay your suppliers and vendors for providing that service to them.
Yeah.
So that is a customer you need to watch out for, right? How you extend credit to your customer, right? And all this comes with sometimes being able to say no, right? Whether they are good, you see, I always believe a bad customer, when I say bad, that means a customer who doesn't like to pay their suppliers on time, who likes to make them run around for the money. That's their nature. They're not going to change. Okay? And nothing, because they believe that they're being very clever and they are being very clever about their money, and because you are their service provider, and usually accountants and company secretaries usually are last on their list of priorities, they will be there. They are not going to change, right? And it's not because they're good people or bad people. It's just that
the traits of
that is their value system, right? So it's up to you to decide whether you want them as a customer or not. Okay? And don't be afraid to say no to a customer whom you're not comfortable with, who is asking you to do things you are not comfortable with. I think sometimes we are very tempted. Again, comes back to the emotion part, right? We're very tempted to say every customer we must say yes to. But no, there are some customers you can say, no, I don't think I'm capable. Maybe they may ask you to do something that is not within your capabilities. There are some work sometimes you can take on, especially if you're in the service industry.
Exactly.
Some work you can take on, or even in the production, right? If the suddenly customer says, tomorrow, can you give me 10,000 of this? I love this product. Can you give me 10,000 of it? Tomorrow. Can you deliver by tomorrow? Then learn to be open with the customer and negotiate with the customer. If you really want this, I cannot. I'm a small operator. Don't be afraid to say that. Don't be afraid to be honest, upfront with the customer. Because if he wants to buy, you want him as a long-term customer, you need to have that relationship, right? And by telling that person that, look, I don't think I can do this by tomorrow, but maybe I can give you 1,000 pieces first. Okay, let me call my suppliers, let me see what happens, and I can do that. But if you clearly communicate and you stick to that plan, and if it's a customer who wants to work with you, then he will look at it and understand your situation. But if it's a customer who just says, no, I don't think I want, it's okay. Because it's better than for you to say no than to say yes and not deliver.
Because
especially if it's a new customer.
Yes, exactly. Because
then you lose your reputation.
Yeah.
And he will never come back to you.
And if the word of mouth goes wrong, then the other...
You lose your credibility.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, what holds water in the really long run is your credibility as a business person. Whatever you do, even if you change your business, even if you do something else, even if 6 months later you expand your business, your credibility always follows you. Word of mouth, people go around, people talk, be surprised. So, you've heard of the term 2 degrees of separation? Okay, sorry, 6, it's actually 6 degrees of separation. 6 degrees of separation.
I think this is an interesting one.
Yeah, 6 degrees of separation. That means if you want to get to someone, chances are there are only 6 levels that are separating you from that person.
Okay.
Right? You can get to that person. And in today's world, that 6 degrees is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Because social media is making, if tomorrow you wanted to connect with someone, you connect with them on LinkedIn, you connect with them directly. And if they are the kind of people who respond to you, they will respond to you. If they are not the kind of people who don't respond, at least someone will this thing. But you may find that you have so many channels to get to people. Word gets around. So, and every year I would actually recommend small businesses, like especially service industry, go through your client list. And don't, if a customer is giving you more headache than the money they're giving you, don't hesitate to say, look, it's been lovely doing business with you, even though it's not. But I think it's time that, I don't think I'm in a position to serve you. Okay. I put it in a nice way, right? And, I would suggest, I give you about 6 months. I would suggest maybe it's time you started looking for another account. And I'm thinking of moving on, expanding into other things. So it's not quite what. It's okay to say that, And if they're interested to stay, they will come to you and say, hey, look, what's the thing? And then you can bring up and say, look, reality, your payment, I cannot sustain this kind of payment term.
Exactly.
And then maybe give them another 6 months to see if they change their habits. If they don't, then just say, look, really sorry, we have to let it go. And maybe you have to write off if they have money still owing. Because once you say that, they may not even pay you the money you owe them. Then you just have to write it off and say it's a cost of doing business. But it's better than you sitting down, that debt is sitting in your books.
And in your head as well.
In your head, sitting down, and the profit appears to be in the thing, but the cash is not in your bank. You're much better off using that energy to serve customers who are willing to pay you, who are willing to work with you, who will grow with you.
Yeah, I think the growth factor is very important. Like we might tend to underrate it, because when you are giving service to someone, it's actually both parties is they are willing to grow, right?
Yes.
One party who is taking the service, they are willing to grow by taking our service, and for the party who is providing the service, they are willing to grow by providing the service.
Correct.
This should be like hand to hand thing,
Yeah, it should be give and take.
give and take.
Give and
Exactly.
take. You know, I give you an example. Like when I left Ernst & Young,
The big
way
four.
back, big firm, way back in 1993.
Hmm.
I left on very good terms
Okay.
with my employers, and I left it and I started my own small consulting firm, to offer services, end-to-end services for small entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I wasn't offering auditing services, but I was offering bookkeeping, consulting services, helping and being like an outsourced financial accountant for large companies. And one of the clients whom I had at that time, I gave them good service. I mean, I think I gave them good service. And until then, over time, and this is like, imagine 1993, we're
93.
talking about 30
years.
30 years, right? They're still very good friends.
Okay.
Over time, they become good friends. Every time they have some, but even though I'm not doing much in finance directly, all my finance work is very indirect because I'm more into managing projects and managing social impact projects. They actually still consult me if they're doing anything major, even though they don't have to. They confide in me. They come for my family functions. They even came for flew all the way from Australia for my daughter's wedding.
Okay. So
Okay.
you have
So
Australian clients?
No, it's not. They were Malaysia, but then they moved to Australia, right?
okay,
So,
okay.
but they live in Australia now, but they flew down for my daughter's wedding.
Okay.
And they're still in touch with me. Every time they come to Malaysia, they come and, they come and say, look, let's spend some time, let's do things, let's catch up. Good friends. Almost family, could say. Right? But we started off as clients. Right? Sometimes we tend to think of it as, this is why I say my third cornerstone is always relationship and reputation. Because if you always work on building a reputation, a relationship with your client, right? Beyond a transactional one. Business is business. You need to keep it as business, right? But at the end of the day, you always do a little bit extra without expecting anything in return, right? And you become someone reliable and dependable. It will pay off in the long run. Like nothing else will. That's going to be one of your biggest social capital. And I think young people need to start building that social capital from the time that they are in their 20s. That's not something you build in your 30s, in your 40s or something. It's something you start building in your 20s and you keep investing and growing that, because that is what will give you as what some people call as compound interest much further down the line.
Okay. And maybe like the connection from the for example, if you are a small company and you have only 3 or 4 customers, right? And if you have a very good relationship with one of the customer and you provide excellent service, they might refer to you. They might give you the connection, right? And I think in the end, you said the compound interest is the matter of money, but this is the compounding network, I would say.
Yes.
I would prefer to say.
Yeah, and they themselves, as a small business, they themselves may grow and expand into other things.
Exactly.
And they will always want to bring a team. Because let's not forget, especially if you're in the financial services, like providing accounting services or bookkeeping services. Now, a lot of these companies cannot afford to have a full-time CPA or a financial accountant on their side. A professional accountant on their side. So they rely on outsourced person to help them, right? And if your client is calling you for things and saying, look, and some things you just got to say, hey, look, can we work out something, right? If it's a long-term assignment. Some of it could be business development. You need to go and listen and see what happens. But sometimes, and if they are understanding, if they are what you term as a good customer,
Exactly.
they will understand and they will say, okay, at some point I need to remunerate. But sometimes you need to pay it forward a little bit, invest a little bit of time in it, and then it may pay off. But, you need to, again, detach your emotions at that point and say, okay, this is how far I'm willing to go. Then I need to have this conversation with this client and say, look, if you have something concrete, please come. Because a lot of times, a lot of these things are very exploratory, and you can't and they are doing their business development, they are being exploratory, but you also don't want to be exploited.
Exactly.
It's always a fine line. It's
Yeah,
always
there's
a
always a
balance that
thin
you
line.
need to walk between things.
Yeah, and being professional means like, the other person whom you are like trying to talk about, like, okay, see, I can provide the service, but if the service needs my time and energy, then I think you have to pay for that as well, right?
Yes.
I think it would be much more professional if it comes from the other side.
Yes.
Because if you are saying it, then it's like you are charging them, like, okay, no,
Yes. That you're being calculated.
calculative. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
But when you need to be calculative, there is nothing wrong in being calculative. You need to be calculative, but you just need to put it very diplomatically.
Yeah.
And in a way that they will be able to understand. Because sometimes people get excited and they just go with it and they don't realize that, oh, okay, I may be imposing on this person's time.
Yeah. Okay. So being a professional accountant, and like maybe like you have been working more than 3 decades
Yes.
as a professional accounting.
Yes.
Okay.
I started in Ernst & Young in 1987.
So the EY, right?
Yes.
One of the big four.
Big Four, yes.
How was your experience there?
It was a huge learning experience because I went in. So they have a scheme there called an article clerk.
Article clerk.
Article clerk. So it's a very England style format. So what happens is you finish your high school, your 12th standard. I think in Nepal it's called 12th standard. You finish that, and then instead of going to university, what you do is you join these firms as what is known as an article clerk.
Okay.
And you sign a contract with them, and what they will do is they will pay for your CPA tuition, your education. They'll give you leave to sit for your exams. They will give you everything, but you have to work for them. So you're working full time. Evening after work, you go for classes, which they will pay for, and then they will give you study leave for you to go and sit for your exams. They'll give you whatever books and all you need, and you'll be under the guidance of a mentor who will guide you.
Is he or she would be a professional accountant or something? The mentor.
Who's probably one of the partners.
Okay.
So you have to be there. So the minimum period to finish everything is about 4 years.
Okay.
So you sit for the exams and you get through and you pass, and then after that you continue working with them. Now the advantage of doing that is you get so much experience, plus you get your education, you get your qualification at the same time. So compared to someone who comes, but it's a lot of hard work. Because during peak season in a big firm, you might be working on 2 audits at the same time. 9 to 5 on one audit, 5 to midnight on another audit. You told to pack, go to the next audit. You'll have to work a lot of long hours, lot of hard work. But it's very fulfilling because your learning curve is so steep. You really learn so many things. And compared to someone who goes to a university and comes and joins 3 years later, as an article clerk, you're far ahead in terms of your capabilities.
The practical exposure you get.
Yeah, because you've really done the hard work,
Yeah.
right? And once you graduate and finish, you get promoted and everything that much faster. So I did it the hard route. I did an articleship, and I qualified in 4 years. I finished, and then after that I was in audit, then I worked in their corporate advisory services. And then after that, I left to start my own consulting firm.
Yeah. Okay. So I think like since we have been talking, right, and you have been clearly telling like know your worth, like tell your client professionally, try to like say no to the customers if they are not willing to pay on time, if they are giving you a headache, right?
Yeah.
There comes a level of communication, like the way how we tell the things. Is it a straight no, or like maybe like, okay, it was lovely working with you, but what we find is like we might be not working good in coming days because of all the things that have happened, right? A straight no, and the other line is quite different, right? So how to be a good communicator?
That's a very, very tricky one. I think it very much depends on the level of relationship you have with a person.
Okay.
And I think one key advice that I would give is never burn your bridges. Right? Don't be rude to the customer. Right? They always say the customer is always right. Never be rude to the customer. Right? always try and leave, and it's very hard. You can't achieve it all the time. It's easier said than done. But always try and leave in a positive, especially in Asian culture, right? Because to them it's a loss of face, right? Oh, I didn't fire you, you fired me, you are firing me, you're indirectly telling me you don't want to do this thing, I'm not good enough for you. All these emotions will come into play.
Yeah.
So you need to play your cards really carefully and do it like over time, and say, and always work on taking as diplomatic an approach as possible. A straight no, I don't want to do it, doesn't work.
Yes.
Okay, again, you need to keep your anger and your emotions out of it. Again, look at it and say, this isn't making sense, I need to slowly. It's like your Facebook list, your friend list. There will be the hangers on, there will be people who you don't even know who's joined you as a friend. Don't be afraid to just say no, and you can put a warning and say, look, this is what I'm going to do. If it's not working out, come and, this thing. And I think over time, you just have to just say, but communicate, be upfront with them, give them time to go and find someone else, and then don't badmouth your customers. Don't go and, get someone else. It all depends on what stage of the business you're in, because if you're, say, in a very, very desperate first 6 months of your business, you will take any customer that comes by. You'll be more willing to be a bit more close an eye to things that may not exactly go your way. You may be a bit more willing to compromise a little bit on the price,
Exactly.
right? Because you want to get it in.
Yeah.
But if you're, say, 2 years or 3 years, you're a bit more mature in your business. It may not fit in with where you want to be with your business at that point in time. I think then it's always okay to just hand over and maybe even refer them to someone who will be willing to take them on, and say, they may not be a bad customer. Maybe they genuinely are in difficulty, but they need help. Maybe a slightly lower fee structure may actually help them. You see, if you're a single person who is providing the service, as opposed to someone who has 10 staff, your pricing structure is going to be different.
Exactly.
Right? So maybe that business hasn't grown with you, and it's more suited to the single person operator. So find, if you know someone, one of your friends who's starting out, you can be upfront with the thing. Look, this guy, he's okay. He's just a slow pay master, but he will pay eventually. And maybe he could, this is all he can afford to pay. Do you want to take it on? And if they say yes, then introduce and say, hey, look, I'm trying to help my friend. Why don't you think about going with this person?
Yeah.
He's really good.
Exactly.
Win-win.
Win-win situation, right?
Yes.
So that the business...
Everybody grows.
Everybody grows, right? Talking about that, like how to, improve your professional communication skills.
Oh, there are so many. I think there are so many videos on YouTube and all that you can, and so many learnings online that you can actually learn, refer to. And it's always good to have a mentor. Someone, even if you're in your own business, it's always good to have a mentor that you can fall back on, seek for guidance, seek for advice, and ask them, look, I'm thinking of doing this. Do you think it's right? I'm thinking of framing it this way. I'm thinking of even writing this letter. What do you think? Someone who's senior in the profession, and it's okay to ask them and say, I'm thinking of putting it this way. What do you think? Do you think this is a good way of doing it?
Will it work or something?
Yeah, ask people. Have someone whom you trust as an advisor, and always don't be afraid to talk to them. And then maybe take them out for dinner once in a while.
It might be a kind of a gesture to show them the
appreciation
for your
Yes.
for their time that
For their
they have
time,
put
yes.
it into, right? Okay, so moving on, I want to talk about the fourth thing you said. Like the first one is like cash flow. Second one is detach the emotion. The third one was building reputation, and fourth one was record keeping, right? In terms of you have been working in Malaysia,
Yes.
for over the past 30 years.
Yes.
How is the record keeping or the accounting culture in Malaysia?
I would say it's probably improving.
Okay.
It's getting better. And I think nowadays with so much of digital things happening, it's actually making it easier for people to keep records. But with a lot of small businesses, it could be a lot better. Because even in Malaysia, I think the percentage of people who actually pay taxes is actually quite low.
So most of the money comes from the
The larger companies
you
and
can-
it's like so a lot of small businesses, I think some of them exist in the informal sector, the informal economy.
Yeah.
And I think we need to slowly work on getting them to improve their record keeping and get them into the formal economy.
Okay.
And with going into the formal economy, I think that's where the record keeping and all that becomes critical. But even if you exist in the informal economy, I think it's good, because if you want to grow, you want to get a loan, you want to get a grant, the first thing they're going to ask is submit your financial records. First thing, anywhere you go, nobody is going to say, unless it's a loan shark who is lending you money at 3% a month or whatever percentage a month.
In Nepal, it's like not 3%.
It's what?
It's like very
high.
Very high.
Very high. So you don't want to get caught in
What's
that.
the interest rate in Malaysia?
Normally,
like if you go
to
to
the
the
bank
bank and you deposit.
I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I know that the interest rates have been going up. Up.
Okay.
Up. And in fact, mortgages, people borrowing money for loans and all that, they are struggling a little bit because cost of the interest rate has gone up quite a lot, especially in the last.
Is the inflation
1.5
affecting in Malaysia as well? The inflation?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And that's why the interest rate is being hiked up.
So that
The
they can
inflation-
curb the inflation, right?
Curb the inflation.
Exactly.
Unless you do that and you want to borrow money from the bank, or if you want to borrow money from a small microcredit agency also, they want to look at your accounts because they want to know what is your repayment capabilities. So your record keeping becomes critical.
Exactly.
And then you go and look for a small accountant to do that. That's why programs like the Accelerate My Business is very, very will really help these.
Let's
small
talk more about the Accelerate, right? Before that, you are the director of Startup Malaysia,
Yes.
right? So what actually is the Startup Malaysia, and we can come back to the Accelerator program. Yeah.
Okay, so Startup Malaysia works, it stands for Enabling Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we do that is we work with youth, we work with grassroots entrepreneurs to help them to help them improve and enable their entrepreneurial journey, whether it's in the form of training, whether it's in the form of programs that we run. And basically with youth entrepreneurs, a lot of the time we actually work on the ideation phase. Like any business, you have the design phase where you're ideating, and then you have the delivery phase where you're actually delivering. So our focus when we work with youth entrepreneurs is more on designing. How do you design, come up with a good idea, and we really teach them how to do that. So that's on our youth entrepreneurship. And we run a lot of, over the years, we started in 2011. But before that, we were also still in existence. We were under a different company. We used to do a lot of bridging the digital divide kind of work.
Okay.
Corporate social responsibility programs and all that. And in terms of grassroots entrepreneurs, we work on a lot of space of digital literacy, all this financial literacy, and we work with organizations like the Asia Foundation, who are in turn funded by organizations like Google and Visa and all that, to actually roll out programs to a lot of grassroots rural entrepreneurs.
So you prepare program for them, or like you
Yes.
work in a collaboration with them?
We actually prepare. So what happens is, like an organization with Asia Foundation will tell us, like, this is what we want to do. We want to reach so many people. This is the program that we want to do. So I work on designing the program, and I see what is the most effective way to design. And then I work with the stakeholders. I go and talk to state agencies. I go and talk to different agencies who have the community under them, and then work with them to design a program that will enable us to roll it out in a way that is most beneficial to the beneficiaries, to the end users.
Okay.
Right? So for instance, for Accelerate My Business last year, we rolled it out to over 6,000 women entrepreneurs in Malaysia and Indonesia. 5,000 over in Malaysia and 1,000 over in Indonesia.
Okay.
And for that, we built a learning platform that is very simple to use, that does not consume a lot of data, because in the rural areas, data is a commodity. It's a very, it's expensive.
It's a luxury item.
It's a
maybe.
luxury item. So they don't want something that they watch one video for the learning and their whole data is gone. They need it to sell, because these are very much necessity entrepreneurs. That means these entrepreneurs, if they don't sell for the day, the children are going to go hungry.
Oh.
They are not doing it because they have this idea, they want to solve a problem, they want to do this. No. I can't get work. My husband has lost his job, or my husband's cost of living has gone up. I need to supplement my family income. So these are really small entrepreneurs. And if you look at a lot of countries, close to 98% of entrepreneurs are these kind of entrepreneurs, are these small grassroots entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Imagine only 2% of entrepreneurs are the big corporations and multinationals. Of course, they control a much bigger chunk of the economy, but these are 98% of the entrepreneurs, and they do contribute a lot, and contribute a lot to the economy of the country. And if you support these entrepreneurs to grow, to formalize themselves, to have better business practices, to have better governance, to have better ways of doing business, to make themselves more profitable, I think then overall it can contribute to the growth of the economy.
Yeah.
And you know how they say that if you support a woman and get the economy going, you are not only supporting the growth, her growth, but you're actually supporting the growth of the next generation.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, no offense meant to men, but
No.
yeah,
Not at
but
all.
but I think it's been proven again and again that
Yeah.
this is the
That's why I think, like, in the corporate world nowadays, like, the board of director, they wish to have, and they want to have, like, female participation much
Yes.
in the decision making, right?
in the decision making. I think they're trying to aim for at least 30%.
30%, yeah, at
Yes.
least.
At least 30%.
Exactly.
Malaysia has just reached. I'm actually recently I've also become quite active. I mean, I've also become a volunteer in the 30% Club movement in Malaysia,
Okay.
and Malaysia has just reached 30% female board directors in their top 100 public listed companies.
Okay.
We just reached that,
Okay. That's
but there's still more way to go.
okay.
But I think that's something that is good, because it's about diversity, and inclusivity. And I think that's slowly becoming a bigger agenda, and people are only willing to invest in companies that have that. But those are things that the small entrepreneurs are not quite in a position to think about that yet. Right? That's something that will have to come, like, once they get their basics out of the way. And that's what programs like Accelerate is trying to do. Give them access to that basic knowledge so that they can be better at their businesses. And so Accelerate is going to next roll out in Nepal.
Nepal.
Yeah. Hopefully by mid-July,
Okay.
it should be rolling. But I think at the moment it's being run as a pilot.
Okay.
I think it's only going to be in I believe it's only going to be in a small province in one of the northern, I think they call it the Koshi province or
Kosi
something.
province. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be started to roll out there. And I think, but eventually, I think then they will look at seeing how they can expand it.
Okay.
But once the learning portal is there, it's a free portal.
Okay. So how do we register? Like, with simple sign in?
Simple signing up. Just go to the website and sign up. It's www.accelerate-msme.com. The portal so the content will be available in both English and Nepali.
So it's specially designed in the context of Nepal.
It is actually 80%, again, the parity rule. 80% of the content is pretty standard, I think, wherever you run a business.
Okay.
Around 20% of the content will be localized. And we are still building the section for Nepal. It should be done in another 4 weeks. So once it's done, but at the moment people can still go in and access the general portal, which is at the moment very Malaysia focused, but
Okay.
text is available. I mean, the data is available in English. But we are working on expanding it into the Nepali language and building that track, and that should be done in another 4 weeks. And they can then sign up, and it's free. Anyone can go in and register and learn.
Provide me the link. I will keep in the description so
Yeah,
that the people can.
I think I shared it to you yesterday, but I'll WhatsApp it to you afterwards.
Sure. So that I will put it in the description so people can access it.
And it's free. Anyone can go in and sign up. And
so it basically, being an entrepreneur or being someone who wants to learn,
who wants to become an entrepreneur can also have in it, and it's very project-based learning.
Okay.
And a lot of the content has actually been adapted from Visa's practical business skills. Which is something that Visa provides free of charge that anyone can access.
Okay.
So what we have done is we have adapted that content to to local context, and we have also added our own content into it to make it. It has a lot. The content has a lot of substance. It is not sexy content because we're very mindful of the fact that for a lot of small entrepreneurs, like I mentioned earlier, data is a luxury. So the content is designed in a way that doesn't consume a lot of data.
Okay.
So it's not heavy on videos, it's not heavy on heavy graphics, animation, and all that. You're not going to find any of that. But there's a lot of good content, and it's mobile friendly. So people can actually access it from their phone wherever they are. Very modular.
Simplicity.
Very modular. I can spend 30 minutes learning one module today, sign out, come back and continue, come back and continue. And I'll get a little certificate at the end of it to say, I have completed this. So at least you walking in, like if you're going to go and apply, you can always, for a loan. And all this record keeping I spoke about, there are simple templates in there that you can download on how to keep good records for your sales, for your cost. How do you keep a simple cash book, cash flow to keep track of your money? There's simple tools available there that you can actually learn, download, make use of. It's free.
Okay.
And, and I think people need to move away from this taboo about wanting to talk about money. Because like I said yesterday, if you don't learn to manage your money, you're going to be managed by the money.
Yeah. I think, it's the matter of fact that if you don't know how to manage the money, then money will manage you.
Money will manage you. You're going to be pulled like a puppet on a string, and you're going to make, you're going to be forced to make decisions that you have no control over.
Yeah, and I think being on an individual level or on a business level as well, if your decision which you want to do, you are not getting to do it because of the problem regarding the money, then that will be so bitter.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like if you want to do this project, for example, being a business, okay, I want to do this project, I want to put some money, invest in that because I am passionate about that. But because of your poor maybe like money management skill, you are not able to do that on that particular day, then it will be kind of demotivating for you as well. So I think the money management is not what do you say?
It's not rocket science.
Rocket science, exactly.
It's not rocket science. It's
you have to
that you can learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you, from your own personal experience and working, have you had like some of the the cornerstones for you talk about the financial management, right? Regarding the money management, like savings. Maybe we have heard income minus savings equals to the expenses. So you earn and you save and then the rest you expense.
It's a nice thought, but it's hard.
Yeah, practically hard.
It's practically hard. And even from personal experience, I'll say it's hard. Yes, it requires a certain amount of discipline.
Exactly.
It requires a lot of certainty in your income. If you're working for someone and a fixed salary is coming in, and if you're really living within your means, you can say, okay, I'm going to put this money away, and I'm going to forget about it, and I'm not going to do that, right? And you can. It's not impossible. It's very possible. They always say, always try and put away, I'm not sure what the number is now, but they always say, try and put away 1 year of your living expenses away. For your savings.
Okay.
Or put away little fund, this is my retirement fund, this is my holiday fund, this is my thing. But I think once people have family responsibilities, have children, and especially if they are in business, that is very hard to do.
But I think discipline is the key for the
Discipline
saving.
is very key.
Saving, like maybe saving for
is,
future.
yeah, always. But it's always good to keep money for a rainy day. And the thing is, it's always tempting. The more money we get, the higher you climb up the ladder if you're working, or the bigger your business grows. The temptation is always to say, I'm going to increase my living costs. My lifestyle expense is going to go up. And then that becomes expensive.
Oh.
Then you're always caught in this web of wanting more, wanting more, wanting more, wanting more. And then where does that stop? And then you find yourself, even though you're earning more, the amount that you have to save is very little. But if you maintain your lifestyle, good times or bad times, this is me, this is my habit. Once in a while, treat yourself, for goodness sakes, by all means. But you can't try and live that every day. If you did that, when times are bad, you are going to really face a lot of difficulty. And I think a lot of people faced this during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When there was lockdown everywhere, global lockdown, things got shut. I can't imagine, like, a lot of people would have suffered, burned through their savings.
Yeah. Especially in like for the small business,
Small businesses.
they run on, as you said earlier,
Necessity.
Necessity one, right? They had to pay the rents to their like landlord. They couldn't, and they had to shut down their business.
Shut down their business
because of the pandemic things, because of the regulation by the government.
Yes.
So
you can't, and all we need, and they're saying that there's no guarantee. We could be hit with another pandemic in 2 years' time. Now, how much of those lessons have we learned to improve ourselves, to put ourselves in a stronger position? So programs like Accelerate and all these different programs that thankfully all these organizations are putting together and helping to bring to the communities is to help them make themselves stronger for the next round.
Okay.
And have better practices so that they're able to they're not just balancing, they're not just walking on thin ice. They can put themselves hopefully on a firmer footing.
Yeah, I think a lot of takeaway from today's podcast. I think it would go on and on and on, and because like the small thing you have mentioned is like that's very practical, right? So in the last, I want to just thinking from like I'm doing a business and I find you as a mentor. So what would be your advice to the young entrepreneurs? Heavy one?
What would be a good advice?
Advice, yeah.
Don't be afraid to try.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try and fail, don't be afraid to learn and try again.
Okay.
I think that's how I would summarize it.
Yeah, that's so wonderful, and thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Vani.
Most welcome. Pleasure.
Yeah, and have a wonderful time in Nepal, and we'll hope to see you in Nepal and maybe like virtually in coming days to come.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ankit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are not done yet.
Oh,
actually, we have a gift session now.
Oh, gift session. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, why gift?
I know you love gifts.
What makes you think so? No, I don't. I just like black t-shirts, that's all.
Actually, since we have been doing this podcast, we have also talked with our gift partners, like if they want like contribute to some of the thing.
Oh wow, my goodness.
So the first one is token of love from our company, the Shresh, your
Thank
financial expert. Do you know what this is?
This is it's some kind of. Is it like a incense stick holder?
No,
Okay, tell me what this
so
is. It looks
this
like some kind of horror.
this is called auntie in Newari.
Okay.
So what you do is like you put alcohol in it,
Put alcohol.
and
Oh,
you
wow,
do
okay.
this, and you put like
For it.
this. this. Not only this, you put like, you go from here to like this. And
All
pour
right.
it.
And is it any special type of alcohol that you're supposed to pour or
It's local
Any-
Newari.
Newari?
Yeah, Aila. We call it Aila.
Okay. But you can put any other alcohol in it as well, right?
Yeah, you can put whiskey as well.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, this is a token of love from our company,
Thank you.
the Stress, your financial expert, and we have been providing like financial and business consulting service to the company, to the startups, focusing primarily on the young entrepreneurs. So if they want to look for a professional accounting service, the professional financial service, then they can reach out to us. We have
Okay.
like the team of ACCA, and so we work like that. And we felt from our working, we felt like there is a gap for financial literacy. So
Okay.
we think like this kind of podcast would at least help them to know about what's the cash flow is, things like that, the savings things,
Yeah.
the good financial management thing, paying yourself things. So the content would come it out, right?
Yes.
So we took an initiative, and we are happy that the professional accounting course which we are pursuing from the ACCA,
Right.
they have like sponsored this project. So glad that they help us and trusted us that we're gonna do it.
Congratulations. I think this is a fantastic initiative that you all are doing.
And another one, this is a book. Sorry, this is a book, the notebook from the ACCA.
Oh,
For you.
ACCA. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
I was doing ACCA for a while before I started my
Oh,
internship.
that's nice.
Oh, beautiful. Very nice.
Yeah, that's
That out there.
exactly.
Okay. And this?
There's another one.
Oh, wow.
So I told you earlier, right? There is a Seed Financial
See,
Academy.
yes, your
so
academy that your college, yes.
college, and it's the only platinum learning provider for ACCA program in Nepal. So they have also sponsored our program.
Wonderful.
So ACCA and Seed. So this is a gift from them.
Oh, okay, can I open it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, nice. It's a mug.
Yeah. So it's a badge that they are the platinum approved for ACCA
nice.
college.
Seed.
Seed Financial Academy.
Seed Financial Academy.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are the first to have the platinum status in Nepal.
Nice.
And another one, do you know?
Oh.
This is
Incense sticks.
incense sticks, right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
lovely.
This
We're
is
always lighting
from
incense sticks in our house.
Vishnu Devi Agarbatti Udyog.
Nice.
It is manufactured in Nepal.
Manufactured in
Yeah,
Nepal.
they outsource the material from like Vietnam and India, and they put
Do it
this.
here?
Yeah, do it here.
Oh, wow. Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
There are like gift voucher if you would love
Gift
to
vouchers. Wow.
redeem. So this one is 50% gift voucher for like single day photo shoot at this studio. This is managed by Visions Nepal, and this is for you.
Okay. And Visions Nepal is you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can redeem it lifetime. It's not like
Okay.
there
Not
there
like
is
a one-on-off thing.
no.
Okay.
You can redeem at any time.
Okay.
The another gift is from Dental Park. It's in the place you went the other day, the
Which one?
Bauddhanath. Okay, and this is Japanese takoyaki food.
What is this?
The food voucher, the 100% food voucher.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your
You're
time,
most
ma'am.
welcome. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.